Good morning, everyone. We're gonna go ahead and get started. I show it's 9 o'clock. Sarah, are you ready to go? Yep. Okay, perfect. Okay, everyone here ready to go? Okay, well, welcome everyone. We are in two spaces today. So I will try to speak to the crowd and also to our online participants. Welcome everyone to our 6th annual All Committees meeting, or as we call it, retreat. I saw a meme and I'm going to try this joke out. Okay. Okay. Retreat is just the Latin word for really long meeting. Yes. There you go. All right. We survived my joke. Okay. So to get us started today, we have a robust agenda, but we wanted to start with some housekeeping items. First, this meeting will be recorded for those who cannot attend today. There are no rest breaks planned, and so please feel free to step away at any time when you need to. Sarah is our timekeeper. She is on the Zoom call. She will be operating the PowerPoint and keeping us hopefully on time so that we can finish according to agenda. The agenda is posted online for those that are on Zoom, and there's extra copies on the table here at the end for anyone in person. And so without any further ado, I will turn it over to our MC for the day, Dr. Katie Elliott, our new chair for the Interprofessional Educators and Practitioners Association.
Oh, I like having a live studio audience for the applause and whatnot. Well, good morning. I'm assuming that a lot of you guys know me. Some people attended my talk in the spring, so now you know a lot about me. If anyone who attended that talk was wondering how I did in my dark and dirty trail run, I came in second, but I took quite the tumble, so I'm kind of recovering. Good thing I have pants on. My knees took quite the beating, but it was a good time. Well, I am just really excited to get to I'm excited to advance the slide, maybe. Am I? Oh, Sarah's doing the slides. See, I teach in this classroom, so I'm so used to having control. So this will be good for me. Okay. I wanted to, for those who don't know me, introduce myself. I am an associate professor in the Department of Nutritional Sciences. And this next year, I will also be serving as our interim chair. So if you see me running around with my hair on fire or crying in the hallway, give me a pat on the back and let me know it's all going to be all right. The things that you don't know about me, but I'm happy to chat about. One of the things about interprofessional collaboration is that we get to know each other outside of the workplace, and that really fosters collaboration in the workplace. So for anyone who is an Enneagram person, I'm an Enneagram 1. That you may back away slowly. But I do embrace my Enneagram 7 very often. Okay. So I'm also an ESFJ on the Myers-Briggs. And if you're into the 5 voices, I am a nurturer connector, which means that you may occasionally need to pull me off the stage if I just start chatting with you. My leadership style is very much a servant leadership style. So please feel free to ask me to get involved alongside you in the weeds, roll up my sleeves and help out. When I am not here, I am usually running or trying to cook things made just from plants. I am not a vegetarian, but I love to experiment in the kitchen. So if you have any good recipes or you ever want to talk food, I am your person. And then lastly, my core values, which I try to embody, are excellence and humility, which my husband always makes fun of me because he says that it's hard to be humble when you're so excellent. Dependability and gratitude. So again, I'm really looking forward to working alongside all of you this year. Next slide. All right. So I was doing some reflection, thinking about what would we like this next year to look like for IEPA. And it is it would be completely remiss of me to not say that we need to continue the excellent work that has already been conducted by last year's group and leadership, an incredible amount of work. And so we want to continue that work and make sure that it all gets done. I'd also like to explore leveraging some of our in-state networks to expand interprofessional partnerships. We are, I don't have to tell you guys this, but we are the leaders in the state as far as interprofessional education. And I think we are poised to bring in some of our partners and be able to impact the state in a more broad way. What that might look like, I'm not sure, but Margaret and I are, really excited to explore that together with all of you. I'd love to maintain a collaborative camaraderie among our group and our constituents. I mean, we are fun people. We know this. I mean, why else would you be here at 9 a.m. on a Friday morning during the summer when you could be working on your syllabus with Jerry? But we want to maintain that camaraderie, bring people in. And then lastly, from a functional standpoint, I'm looking forward to us incorporating the updated IEPA core competencies into our curriculum and our work as applicable. Sarah, if you'll go to the next slide, I'll talk a little bit about those core competencies. So I've been blessed to be a part of the IEPA work group that is updating these competencies. This has been I represent the Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics on this panel. And this has been a 2-year process. It has been like learning how sausage is made. And I forgive the dietitian. I always have food analogies or puns, but really getting to see the deep dive that all of our professions have done. And I feel safe in saying that every profession that's represented in IEPA is also represented on this work group for the first time. So if you think back to the 2011 core competencies in 2016, only a fraction of our professions were represented. Now, anytime you add more people, what do you get? More opinions, more, perceptions, more, data to put into the information. And so it's taken a while, a little bit longer than we had planned, but hopefully the release of these competencies will be coming this fall. So where it says on that second bullet, the tentative release in summer or fall, it's really going to be fall. Now, one nice thing about this is that all of our professions have been tasked with going out to our professions and presenting the competencies. So if your profession has not already had a presentation at their national meeting, a webinar, something like that, they will be, and you can look for that. I'm also hoping to do something here on campus. Looking at Margaret, I'm hoping to be able to talk a little bit about this process. So anyway, just wanted to give a quick update on that. All right. And so with that, we are basically going to be going through each of our committees, giving updates, asking for feedback, and then talking about what's next, which is the fun part. And next slide. Everyone has our agenda. And I think I'm passing it back off to Margaret. So thank you.
Standing ovation even. Okay, well, Dr. Williams is on another meeting, so I'll get us started until she's able to join us. And Sarah will ping me when Dr. Williams is on. So Sarah, if you want to go ahead and get started, there we are. With the office updates, we wanted to, just remind you who we are and what we do for any new joiners today. I'm going to try to do the congratulations, and I do this every year, and I say 5 minutes, and then I get excited and I spend like an hour. No, I'll spend 5. We have 2 topics to review today that we will vote. So we'll have a QR code. You want your phone when we get to that point, and we'll do an online vote. One is on the adoption of the strategic plan, and then the other is on the adoption of the curriculum integration project. So I'll talk a little bit about each of those here. Next slide. Okay, so who we are, it's a big group, right? This is your support staff for all things interprofessional here at the campus. We are tasked with implementing the work of the IEPA. So all of the good ideas and work that you come up with, this is the group that makes it all happen. So Dr. Williams is our director, the vice provost. Then you're stuck with me. We have Kylie, who does all of our simulations. For those who don't know, she is a social worker by trade. And she does all of our simulation work. We have Rama Osman, whose degree is in healthcare administration, and she does all of our Unity Clinic work. We have Dr. Ruby Sheriff Sendell. She's in the back here in person. She does our data processes, program evaluation, and faculty activity system. Sarah, she's online. She does all things IPE. She also does all professions stay and such. Then we have Christina, who's with the grant. She's also a social worker, and then all of our graduate assistants, including Kat Tabak, who's over here in person as well, who works, her trade is in information sciences, library sciences, information and library sciences. And she works with our program evaluation team. We office over in the library, and shortly here I'll show you our new office. Next slide. This is another view of who we are and the structure, and it just shows you how complex it has become over the years. We have our program faculty. Those are each of you that come from the different professions, our nursing rep, our audiology rep, our medical reps, etc. We have our IEPA, our volunteer folks. That's you guys on the committees there in the middle. And then our staff again are listed over to the right. Next slide. Our projects here, obviously we support the office of the vice provost. We support you, the IEPA. We also support the colleges with their accreditation requirements, our program coordinators, our deans, directors, et cetera, and then any of the student initiatives as well. So it's a major task and we take it very serious. Next slide. And again, this is just another visual representation of who all we service here across campus. And so we always say we are here to build a bigger table. Everyone is invited. As we look at operationalizing the work, we say we are preparing content that everyone has an opportunity to do something, but not everyone does everything, right? So that means a robust menu of different opportunities. Next slide. This is again another visual way to look at that of how the curriculum team has devised how we deliver our content, looking at awareness or didactic content, getting into service learning and practice, applying what they've learned, and then hopefully synthesizing that content at the end. So just another view of that. Okay, so most of you were well aware of that. We just wanted to make sure we took some time to go through this. Okay, so Sarah, time me. I'm going to get this done in 5 minutes. Okay, next slide. Annual report. So this is something that the team has worked hard and heavy on. This will be on the website later today. There will be a link in the chat. We'll also send this out to everybody. Dr. Williams asked that we put this into a 2-page format this year because last year was 74 pages. So we worked really hard to synthesize a lot of the content, get some good metric numbers reported to everybody, and then that will be available to you. Next slide. As we put together the annual report, so I'm going to share some numbers here in a moment, but this is what we use to guide our work this past year. This is our logic model for our program evaluation plan of how we organize all this content and report it back out to you guys. And again, this is available on our website, but just wanted to touch that this is the context that we used. Next slide. So the big deal, the big, huge congratulations goes to the program evaluation team. Today we have Ruby here, we have Kat here, and if you see, they don't have gray hair, but I have the gray hair. the work that they put into this, the countless hours that they put into creation of this Power BI dashboard with this huge data set is nothing less than miraculous. They had to work with institutional research, with IT, with different campus experts, multiple different data sources coming from across campus, looking at knowledge-based assessments, our JTOG evaluation, our demographics, our enrollment, our registration, our satisfaction, so all of that goes into this evaluation plan. And then to take that huge database and put it into this Power BI dashboard is remarkable. And so they are working to put this into an application base, like an app, where you can download this. And in the meantime, we will have a request form that you can get this data yourself. So as you have accreditation reports or publications, et cetera, and you need this data out of the system, you'll be able to request that. Okay, next slide. So some of our success, again, the congratulations. So this past year, we had 1,800 unique learners. That's individuals that participated in IPE activities. That's up from the days back in the day when it was 75 to 80. So 1,800, that's a huge number. 95 faculty from across campus, so more than those you see on the call today, but 95. Over at Crossings Clinic, we saw 255 unique patients. Those are the uninsured of Oklahoma County that we were able to give care to. And when you add all the hours, that's 620 total hours of content that we delivered over the last year. Next slide. Oh, right. Right. That's an impressive amount of work. This is another way to look at the data. This is something that we worked on for the provost. And so we took that curriculum menu and we looked at what was our head count, how many were enrolled in those activities this year, and what we anticipate for the upcoming year. So when you see these, some of these numbers are duplicate, right? Like APD 1, APD 2, those are the same students attended both. But when you add that we saw 1,100 at APD 1, 1,000 at APD 2, and you add all that up, it comes up to 5,700 over the past year. So when we all feel tired, that is why. We really are doing a whole lot of touch points with this content. And next year, based on current calculations, we're looking at 7,600. So short and sweet, it's an impressive data set there reflective of your work. Okay, next slide, some happy stuff. Also want to reiterate how much congratulations goes to the team for the mobile outreach unit. We had that ribbon cutting back in September, so that was a nice fun day. And curriculum committee has some slides, so we'll talk a little bit more about mobile outreach and how impressive that work has been. Next slide. Ooh, well, the link works, Sarah. We were going to do a tour that had the video. If not, that's fine.
Looking like it. Sorry.
Oh, no, that's fine. Okay, so we are also moving to a new space. So that's new and exciting. And congratulations to many people that have worked on that. We had a video we were going to show there of the new storage unit that we have. It's a couple thousand square feet. It does indeed look like an Amazon storage unit, but it's ours and finally available to us. Next screen. And we will have a new office building coming up. So we will be in the Allied Health Practice Building. That's the old name. We are currently getting it renamed to something appropriate to IPE. It's over at 1600 North Phillips Avenue. If you drive over there, you'll see it's under construction right now, but it will have 8 exam rooms that we can use a simulation right now. And then if we ever are able to see patients there, hopefully as exam rooms. It has 2 conference rooms and then 1 smaller conference space that'll hold about 5 people. We have team huddle rooms over there that anyone will be able to use, and a workstation room that'll have 3 desks in it that anyone can come over and use as well. And we will also have a sim room that'll have couches, so for therapy or such. any of that will be in that space. Altogether is about 7,000 square feet. So it's a nice, good space. It does not have any large rooms. So we're not going to be able to do all professions stay there, right? But it will have some different space utilization for us. So we're excited about that, have a new space. So I always say thank you to you, because it is because of everyone's hard work here that we were able to do any of that. This is a massive machine on campus, and it only works because of you. So thank you to everyone for your hard work on that. Okay, we have the two proposals. I'll go through these quickly. So first is the strategic plan initiative. Next slide. Over the past year, we've had multiple groups contributing to the strategic plan development. This has been an organic document that everyone has had an opportunity to contribute to, and we've brought it to different committees and had lots of edits. It looks very different than where we started. We have done initial vetting with it, and at this point, we are going to propose to the group today that we adopt this. It is proposed today for adoption as still an organic document. So nothing is locked in stone with this. It is going to be a guiding document for us that we will routinely evaluate and will be available to edit if at times we determine it does require that. That's very similar to what the university is doing with their strategic plan. And so we mean to follow suit with that. I'll briefly go over each of the points, and then we'll get into what next steps look like. Next slide. Okay, background on it. So with the strategic plan, our foundation is, of course, the international framework for interprofessional collaboration from the World Health Organization. That then goes to the national competencies, the IEPA competencies that Dr. Elliott mentioned. And then we also have accreditation. So, of course, all of our participating programs have accreditation requirements here that we also have to ensure we are meeting with our strategic plan. Next slide. We use the 5 pillars of the university strategic plan to guide our work. So you'll see those there in that left-hand column. The middle column is how we use language to reflect interprofessional work, similar to that university pillar. Under each objective in the main document, the big 30-page document, there's different strategies. So with the strategies and tactics, that gets into the details of how we would do this. But this is the goal or objective that we'll be looking towards. And then the key performance indicators are what we will report to our constituents to determine our effectiveness with this plan, or where we need to make those revisions. So you'll see here the research initiative. Of course, we do have some research components here. And so we'll look at the metrics of how many are involved in research. Next slide. Leading workforce development, that's the majority of what we do in IPE as an educational initiative. And so we will measure that by how many students complete our IPE programming, how many are participating, and then how many of our faculty are completing the certificate program. Next slide. Improving health outcomes. This used to say, and this was a pretty lofty goal for the university, but it used to say eliminate health disparities in Oklahoma. Yeah, thank you for all laughing. Yeah, I mean, it's a good goal, right? But of course, a lot of the work that we do out in the community does work in this space. So we'll look at what we're offering in those spaces. And it also gives us an opportunity to go that step further and look at our impact on patients. So not that we're just having activities in the community, but what are our outcomes with them? Next slide. The place of belongingness. This is referred to often as the DEI pillar. And so this is looking at how we bring people into IPE. Now, this is something Dr. Elliott just mentioned, that It's all about collaboration and bringing together and having those interpersonal relationships. And so this is something that we feel that we can demonstrate well, that engagement that we have. But the metrics that we're going to set will be the participation in committees, seek grant participation, student council activities, and then any of those mobile outreach where we're bringing people together. And then the last one is the most abstract for us because it's driving economic growth, and that's not what we do, right? But we can look at the economic impact of our work. So we can look at what type of services, we can look at CPT codes associated with those services. We can look at what the offset cost to community members would be if they were paying out of pocket for those services. We can look at estimated savings to systems. Right. In the future, could we even look at, are we affecting hospital admissions or readmissions or discharge rates or any of that as we continue to grow with our services in the community? So we can hopefully demonstrate some economic impact. Ruby, could you open the door back there? Okay. So next steps, it's pretty basic outline there. Today we can take a pause. I'll do my social work pause to see if there's any significant concerns to that plan, knowing that there is a plan for future revisions. So even if we adopt it today, it is again an organic document. We will be looking at continuous quality improvement where we will be keeping metrics throughout the process. And each year when we come back to this meeting, have a report for you to determine where we are and what course corrections are needed with the plan. We will disseminate this to all constituents. It will live on our website, so it'll be available to anyone and everyone. And of course, we will have those evaluation metrics in Power BI, and Kat and Ruby are working very hard to have an independent dashboard in the future for just the strategic plan. Okay, and of course, data will be available back to our committees as well. So I'll take that pause. I've learned you count to 5 or 10 and you pause for questions or concerns. And then if we're ready to vote, the voting is on the QR code. You can vote to adopt with reservation. If you say with reservation, it will give you another fill in the blank where you can give us your comments and feedback, or you can decline. So I will stop talking and pause. Okay, I'll give it another moment in case anyone needs the QR code, and then we'll move on to the next. And then Sarah will tally up all the votes and we'll make an announcement according to what the vote does determine there. Okay, Sarah, while they're doing that, we can go ahead and move to the next, and I can verbally go over the next proposal. Okay, the next one is the curriculum integration project. Lynn Goldston, our past chair, was not available today. She had another appointment this morning, but this was her project as chair of IEPA, was to look at curriculum integration. Next slide. The outcomes of the survey, which many on IEPA participated in the survey that went out, was to look at how our participating programs are utilizing IPE content. So we asked, are you embedding it within courses? Are you giving credit in graduation requirements? Are you not utilizing it at all, et cetera, right? And it's for that whole curriculum menu. So when you say 44% are not utilized, that doesn't mean that they're not using anything. That means any one component. So maybe one program's using All Professions Day, but not using the grand rounds. right? So it'll show that the grand rounds was not utilized. And with that, it gave us good feedback. We held a focus group afterwards to get additional verbal feedback beyond the survey. And our recommendations based on that are on the next slide. Whenever you're ready to proceed there. Okay, the proposal now is that we create an IPE curricular integration plan for use by participating academic programs. So the result was that there's not a lot of integration. And if this is something we'd like to proceed with, we need a plan to implement that. Next slide. We have 3 key components that we'd like to lay out in this plan. The first is to facilitate opportunities for faculty collaboration to create IPE content. We've been doing this so far with the seed grants, and the seed grants have been fantastic. Many, many thanks to the Wisdom Family Foundation for funding that as a source. It has been a fantastic opportunity. That's where we got Same Fame. Ellen Bannister's here in the room. We've had a lot of really great content come out of that. But we feel like we could do a little bit more to say, even if you're not needing funding or seeking funding for it, can we assist you in creating that new content? And so we'd like to put some information on our website and potentially hold workshops to assist with the creation of that. We've done some webinars here and there, but we think we could beef that up a little bit better. Next slide. To do that, we'd like to create a toolkit, something that makes it easy so that when you're working on your syllabus at 1 o'clock in the morning, Jerry, you can have a toolkit to reference that you can pull up that has all of that helpful information on how to do this. What are best practices, techniques, things you need to include? What are the new IPEC competencies? What should you be reflecting? Put that all into a user-friendly toolkit. And then we also will include the scholarship of teaching documents so that if additional work is needed, we can assist with that. Item 3 is to also leverage our curriculum committee expertise. All those folks have been doing this for the last 10 years. To assist others in how they are doing this. And again, we've never intended to be the clearinghouse for interprofessional education. Anyone can do it anywhere, but could we offer that as assistance? Not that you have to go through us, but can we assist folks on campus with that? That if they want to do IPE, we are here to help them review it. So not just to give them the tools, but also to help them review their work. So that peer evaluation approach. So that is our proposal for the group, is to implement that plan over the next year with IEPA. It will affect our office. Will be here to support that. Sarah will have to put all this online. The curriculum committee will have to send that toolkit through them to review, et cetera. If we do approve it, we'll start working on that over the next year. And then we'll, of course, send everything through executive council for any revisions for that. We would also plan, as the strategic plan is launched, that we would go with that evaluation routine, that over the next 5 years, we will annually evaluate our effectiveness with this plan and make any of those course corrections as needed. So same with the last one, there's a QR code. I'll do my pause, my 10-second social work pause, if there's questions or comments, and it should have the similar voting where you can vote to adopt that plan or adopt with reservation, give us your feedback, or to decline.
Use of technology for both. You know what I'm talking before? I'm like, was there way to put their heads down and close their eyes?
Well, and the hybrid today, you know, we had to have something that would work in person or on Zoom. And I see Dr. Williams has joined us, so I'll be turning this over shortly to her. Okay, it looks like everyone's had a chance to get the QR code again. We will tally up those votes and let you know where we are going with this as a project. It is now my honor to introduce our Vice Provost and Director for Interprofessional Education, Dr. Valerie Williams. Sarah, you can advance to the next slide.
Well, hi, everyone. There you go. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the competing meetings. The university never slows down. I don't know why we ever think that summer is going to be slower than the rest of the year, but it really is a pleasure to join you this morning. And I very much appreciate the work that you all do. And my thanks to the leadership and to Margaret and her team for really an excellent year. I want to be sure that in the time I have available, which about maybe 5-10 minutes, that I also have an opportunity to answer whatever questions you may have. So as Margaret and I talked a little bit about what I would try to bring to the table for you all this morning, a couple of things came to mind that I think are important, and probably some of this you know. The very first thing being sort of what is the nature of the health sciences strategic plan, and how is that going to affect our work going forward around interprofessional education and around what the colleges and the institution by and large are being able, will be able to do. The second, just some updates about how we are interacting with the Board of Regents as a sort of a newly defined one university kind of environment, and what's going on across the state, let's say it that way, around what's happening in higher education. So some of the things that are behind not only our strategic plan, but also behind the university strategic plan, and around what's happening with the interprofessional education fee and what the provost and the deans are going to be thinking about in terms of how we move forward to continue to advance our work in these areas. And then the third thing is thinking about scholarship and scholarly work and productivity that so many people from the IPEA community have contributed to presentations and abstracts and getting peer-reviewed works out. And what are those things that we can do to help continue to support those efforts going forward? And I'm coming at this from both the perspective of that scholarly work is part of what we are expected to do as academics, and also because evidence is the basis for our ability to actually move forward in a conscientious way around what we're implementing and what we're trying to teach and engage learners around, how we're engaging in patient care related activities, and what we're thinking about is the questions that need to come up about how to do interdisciplinary and interprofessional work in a more coherent manner that has impact. Not only impact for patient related outcomes and for research questions we ask, but also impact for the team. So qualitative, quantitative, mixed methodology, research, and scholarship being clearly very important. So let me jump back to the strategic plan just to highlight that for all of you, and I'll try after I get done talking to put the link in the chat. If you have not seen the strategic plan, it is on the Provost website. So from the main page of the health sciences website, if you drop down to the Provost page and you go to the bottom of the page, the health sciences strategic plan is located there. It opens as a PDF, so be aware, but there are 5 pillars to it, and they start with research. So the first pillar is about advancing research and moving the institution to a new level in the national community of research and scholarship. And so there's going to be a lot of expectation on our colleagues and on all of us about how we help create an environment that is a robust environment for the pursuit of new ideas and innovation, and peer engaged scholarly work at the level where it is potentially eligible for funding locally at the national level, funding meaning just supported because there are outcomes intended for it. Thank you, Sarah, for putting that in the chat for me. The second pillar is called workforce development. That goes to our core educational mission, and it includes 3 strategies in particular. One around increasing enrollment in the health professions. There has been great concern across with our provost and with many others that we are the leading health professions and biomedical sciences training organization in the state of Oklahoma. And the state of Oklahoma does not appear to be benefiting very much from that in terms of health-related outcomes. So we need to do more. And there are a whole variety of things that are connected with that push to increase enrollment. One of the avenues for increasing enrollment is the second strategy around increasing our engagement in outreach beyond the borders of the state, in particular through online education. And some of you have likely heard this in your colleges, but it's a component of that that more strategic issue about we need more people in the fields that we prepare and train. We need more people able to get in front of our faculty and their expertise who are likely to have some kind of connection to the region or to the state or to the University of Oklahoma. So the second one is about online education. The third strategy in there is about increasing biomedical sciences education. Again, produce more people in the research areas who can do scholarly and peer-reviewed work, who can innovate and find ways to tackle the health problems and just the biomedical issues that face us as a population that largely face the world. So the strategic plan is going to be quite a driver around what we do with the educational part of the house. That second pillar being important there. The third one, and this is a big ask because what it says is eliminate health disparities in Oklahoma. Now, this is in the health sciences strategic plan. So we have a provost who is a former dean of the College of Public Health, who is a researcher who is very invested in population impact, population health related matters. And so he accepted and is promoted this idea that it is part of our job to do something about what is happening with health in the state. And some of you know, or maybe all of you know this, we rank somewhere between 48th, 49th, or 50th on most of the major health indicators for people's wellness. And that includes on behavioral health related things, dental care, pediatrics, maternal and child health, you name it, aside from the adult health things like cardiovascular disease, cancer, diabetes, etc. So our provost he's not having any of that anymore. He has put up metrics and components in our strategic plan saying, we are going to do something about this. We're going to be upfront about it. We're going to be engaged in that work. And when you think about just those first three things about the value of interdisciplinary and interprofessional engagement in those, I can't emphasize enough how critical that is, because not one of those things is going to be solved by any single discipline, whether it's a research question, looking at how the workforce evolves and is able to work together, or thinking about solving healthcare disparities. So yeah, this is all about all of the things that we're trying to do through interprofessional ed. The fourth one is about belonging inclusion and says something like create a place of belonging and inclusion for students, faculty, staff, alumni, and patients. Okay, so that's a big ask as well. There's a whole bunch of strategies within that. We can go into that in a little bit of detail in another session. However, I will say that most of your colleges have a person in the dean's office or in a leadership role within the college who is thinking about these issues in the context of what our accreditation requires, and how is it that we're going to get this done. And you all, as the IEPA, have sort of created a community of practice and a community of learning that is part of this creating a sense of belonging and inclusion. When you look at a lot of what's in the competencies around how to make a team effective, this is the work that you all are doing every day, focused on how each of the disciplines comes together and has impact both through learning and through the application of that learning, whether it's in patient care or on in the sciences or in just being an effective team member and able to sort of draw resilience from being a strong part of a strong team. So we're on track with that one. The fifth one, the fifth pillar, relates to commercialization and getting ideas to market. Most of that has leaned back into what's happening on the research side, with things not just sort of staying in a laboratory, but actually getting out and being used to improve health and wellness outcomes. So that one has a little bit of a less direct connection to what we're doing within interdisciplinary education, but I'm sure that there are ties that can be had there. So I want you to be thinking about what's in the strategic plan, because all of the metrics that are being used to assess where we're going, Margaret and her team has worked with many of you in the leadership community to actually be sure that we have those pillars identified in ways that connect back and can be reported sort of up the line as the provost and the deans and others are looking at how to advance the strategic plan. The plan goes to the regents. Every time the regents meet, the president and the provost have to make a report about what is happening with the strategic plan. They're very serious about this being the driver that OU puts it on its public face to really say to the community, what's the work we're doing. So in that context, regents, the regents at their June meeting had to take up a number of issues related to the cost of education. And one of those has been about the fees that are charged to students. There's an ongoing discussion in the state, let's say, about the cost of tuition and fees and how people can't anticipate what the cost is of education, et cetera. And unfortunately, for better or worse, our IPE fee sort of sits like a little, head above all of the other little heads as a chunk of money that the students pay to get access to the programming and a whole variety of things that that you're talking about today. So what ended up happening is the provost was willing to say, well, we probably don't need the IPE fee anymore. We should find other ways to fund that activity within the institution. It's a responsibility that we all as colleges have that we need to figure out how to handle centrally. So that fee was cut. And as a result, we likely will have 1 year ahead of us where we have the fee that's already been approved, but going forward from probably the year ahead, we will not have access to the fee, certainly not in the form that it has been so far. What I am working with him and I will be working with the deans to figure out is, okay, well then how do we manage the scope of this largely $1 million program that's been created with this wonderful variety of opportunities for learners without sort of that direct infusion of money? How is that going to happen? So as you all will be engaged in that conversation with me, with Margaret and her team, with the provost, with the deans, because we are going to have to figure out a way to navigate this. There are some core components that we definitely know have to be supported centrally because we are looking at the clinical opportunities that have to happen really out in the bigger community, and how we support that and how we support the interdisciplinary, the sort of the discipline coordinator roles that have to happen at night and on weekends and whenever all of those things can actually take place, so that we can help meet accreditation standards that colleges can't do independent of some coordinated institution-wide effort. There are other conversations in the mix that will help with other components of how we engage faculty and give them appropriate recognition. And we've laid the groundwork for a lot of that in the faculty activity system, with giving you all ways to have the work that you are doing count toward recognition, advancement, accomplishments, outcomes, metrics, et cetera. So we'll have to give a lot more attention to that during the months ahead to be sure that we're on a path that's going to be relatively stable, so that we don't reduce the opportunities for those learners' experiences, which is included in some years up to 7,000 learners, meaning learner experiences over time. Margaret and I were looking at the data the other day. So I think the lowest we've had in the last 5 years has been about 4,600 students, and the highest has been somewhere around maybe 7,100. Margaret, forgive me, because I'm probably getting those numbers off by a little bit, but that's a lot of student engagement by about maybe 90-ish to maybe 110 faculty sort of people who are involved in the IEPA overall. So that's a lot of accomplishment, and we'll figure out how to move that forward. So, and I've hinted at the scholarly productivity, so I'm going to stop talking because I want to be sure that there's an opportunity for you all to ask any questions that you may have, and I'll turn it back over to Margaret to sort of see the people in the room. I can see people on the screen, but I cannot see the people who are in the room. But thank you so much for the time. Your work is greatly appreciated. I think you've made marvelous advancements. I'm looking forward to Katie's leadership as our new chair, and thank the folks who have preceded her. Okay, Margaret, what do you want me to do? Are there any questions in the room or online? And we'll go from there.
Any in the room? I'm getting no's here online. Am I missing anyone?
Okay.
I have a question online. It's Cheryl.
Hi,
Buckner.
Cheryl.
Hi, Valerie. So years ago, we talked about like potentially, I don't know if we called it our own college, but we called it our own designation, that courses could be listed as the prefix of IPE or something like that.
Mhm.
And then that would be a direct way to obtain funding. Are there any thoughts about that any longer?
Yes, and I'm Cheryl, I'm glad you brought that up. Thanks for that question. And Margaret and I have been in conversations with a couple of the colleges that have a long history about supporting interdisciplinary work, about how we can accomplish just exactly what you're talking about. There are a few programs in the University of Oklahoma that are literally in the provost's office, but that is not an easy way for students to be credited with something that makes sense to people who are reading their transcripts and looking at their preparedness for activities in career opportunities, for example. So we're in conversation with two of our colleges right now, and if we can come up with a model framework that works, that will have some potential to expand to others of the colleges who want to host course curriculum or something identified as IPE. I think there's a lot of opportunity here, just structurally, given the role that OU Health Sciences has in the state system. We have to do it at the level of professional education. So that means tying it to some academic entity that already exists. So we are absolutely working on that. And part of, I think I came in on the discussion about the academic integration question. It is a key component of that academic integration discussion that Margaret was just having with you all. Great question.
Awesome. I just know, like, I've had students really struggle the past year or two trying to find interdisciplinary, interprofessional electives. And our college, our intent for our new undergraduate curriculum is that they're going to be able to take some electives. And I can just see that could be a solution, to that issue.
Yes.
So
Yes,
be-
absolutely. Yes. And and as we have more avenues for learners to have elective opportunities, that's a relatively easy one to solve. What's harder for us as a health sciences programs is that some of our programs don't have much room for any kind of electives. So that's why the integration piece really becomes critically important. There's just not a lot of room in the curriculum, unless we want to stay here another 5 years, for doing more stuff. That's what we're trying to sort out. And y'all are helping immensely in that regard.
Question I wanted to know about. So we've gotten rid of the fee and we've had a tuition increase. Is that going to help with our IPE budget for this year?
Yeah, so for this year, if what's been said to me so far, because the budgets are still coming out, we just got information from the state regions. We should be okay for this year. And I'm saying that again, fingers crossed, because I don't have all of the final decisions yet. The part of what the university, our health sciences faces, is that the way our formula is set up around tuition and fees and sort of our peer, the peer standard that the state regents have used, we can only be at a certain number regardless of what we're doing with tuition and or fees. And so the more fees we have, the less we can raise tuition. So the provost and the finance side of our house have been trying to get those things better aligned, rather than we have a boatload of fee related things across the entire health sciences, right? I mean, in all locations, right? And for all of our programs. And they're trying to bring that into better alignment so that tuition is actually more reflective of the cost of education in these disciplines. And that varies so immensely by discipline, as you know. So yes, some of it should be coming from tuition. Some of the support should be coming from tuition, and some should be coming from what central admin does with the resources that are collected from tuition fees, whatever all else. ended up being sort of that, like the first hit on that, but Norman had to go through some of this like a couple of years ago. They changed their entire fee structure. We just couldn't get there all in one move. Did that answer your question? I mean, it's yes, and those particulars.
Yes, it did. Thank you.
Okay.
Others?
Okay, y'all are really quiet, so hopefully you're in conversation in the room. But hopefully this isn't the only time that we'll have an opportunity to talk. Margaret, if you have any thoughts or anybody online has any, please don't hesitate to be in touch with Margaret and or just email us, and I'm happy to answer questions offline if you've got them, and to come back and visit with committees as you continue to do your work. I just want to say thank you because what you're doing is just so important to the quadruple aim. All of those components related to what's happening in the healthcare outcomes of people and in how we think about what people need, and the outcomes associated with what's happening to the healthcare team as we do this work. So you're amazing. We're so fortunate to have had the engagement and continuing engagement of the Wisdom Foundation, and I'm just so impressed every day just looking at what you all accomplish. So please hang in there, keep it up, have a great summer, stay hydrated since things seem to be getting vicious with the weather. And please do not hesitate to be in touch if there's some things that I can help with or questions that I can answer for you. Thanks for the time.
Thank you, Dr. Williams. You're in a round of applause here.
Thank you.
You just want me to introduce the next one since I'm standing here? Okay. All right. We will now proceed to our committee reports. This will be fast and furious. We have 4 committee reports to go through. I believe first up is student faculty committee. Then I think it's curriculum, then faculty development, and then research at the end. So I will, is it Raina coming up? Okay. Round of applause for Raina. And Sarah's doing the PowerPoint, so just say next slide when you're ready.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. I'm here to talk about our student faculty committee. We have a new incoming chair-elect. I'm not sure if Beth is on the call. Oh, there's Beth. Look at you. Hi, Beth. You guys can't see her out in the audience, but there she is. So everybody in the room gets to see her. Like I said, she's our new incoming chair-elect. We've had several meetings. We have met with our outgoing student faculty committee, and we are in the process of getting the new individuals into place. So we're in the middle of transition. That's why they're not here with us today. As we all know, recruiting students is always fun in the middle of summer because all of our programs, transition at different times. But so we're here. That's part of our role as faculty, is to help support them through that transition. So our deliverables, just very quick, if you're new and not familiar with what the student faculty committee does, what we do is we will develop a series of the IPE related events. We have open house events, and these are meant to facilitate, student involvement and student leadership between the different colleges. We also have a focus on electronic engagement, or I should say e-engagement or online engagement, because that helps our students able to communicate better. As again, I mentioned that we all have very different schedules, and the students have found that it works very well to continue to do this engagement in this fashion rather than hold traditional in-person meetings as we did pre-COVID. So they have really worked hard to do things like grand rounds in the electronic format. A lot of our events have been blended technology events and in-person events. And also the point of our committee is to continue to foster this relationship between our faculty and our student leaders. And that's the role that Beth and I serve, is that we help. We don't instruct, but rather we serve as peer mentors to help our students develop those leadership skills in the interprofessional environment, not just as professions, because we talk about leadership identity and as a member of your profession, but also what does it look like to be a leader in an interprofessional environment. And that takes a little bit different skill set. So that's part of what our committee deliverables are. And if we'll just go to the next slide, kind of go through this. And again, it's just to develop and maintain and coordinate interprofessional programmatic proposals designed with specifically the HSC community, right? We're always involving the people who we're giving services to. We're not just in giving services without their input. So next slide. Our successes, things that really worked this last year, were our grand rounds. We had a lot of fantastic topics and a lot of fantastic speakers that we received great feedback on. Some of those were the vaccine hesitancy panels. One that I helped participate with was the chronic pain. And we had professionals from the community come and talk about barriers. And the students were like, oh, this is great information. If you'll just go to the next slide, trying to run through this quickly, like Margaret told me to. One of the new things that we did this year was Unity Week. That was something that we traditionally had kind of done through the IPEA committees in general, but then we asked the student council if they would be able to assist, and they rose to the challenge fantastically. They were able to throw an incredible Unity Week together very quickly, and it also received a lot of positive feedback from the students. One of the things that we want to get input on, going forward, but was our poster haul. So the Unity Week poster haul was very successful. This wasn't a formal poster haul. We did have judging, but it was not done. We called it a mock poster haul. And that was just the barrier removal that we needed to help make the event successful. And absolutely our leadership this last year, Samantha and Katie and Sophia did a really great job in coming up with that in order to help give our students opportunities to present their posters in a safe environment before, they went out into the professional. So it meets that piece of helping them with their professional goals as well as their interprofessional goals. Yep. Okay. I was like, maybe next slide. Yes, next slide. And so this is just like our plans for the next fiscal year are, very similar. We want to continue with the interdisciplinary grand rounds and solidify that and market that more so that we have a larger attendance. Like I said, we received a lot of positive feedback, but with lots of things over over COVID, understanding how to capture that audience and when to capture that audience has been a challenge. So we're going to continue to nail down a time and see when the most successful time of the day is to do the grand rounds. We want to do the Unity Week poster haul again and do, continue with that Unity Week since it was so successful. Last year we had 28 posters submitted. And it was absolutely student-led. And we think that was part of the reason that it was so successful, that we had the participation that we did. With our council, they meet, if you're not familiar with the structure of the interdisciplinary student council, it meets bi-weekly. They have about 15 members, and those 15 members are tied back into their own colleges. So they have each of the colleges or areas represented will elect their member to the interdisciplinary student council. And as you can imagine, there's a lot of overlap with other student groups. And so that's a really great way to disseminate information. And we've had a lot of good success, like when we need something from the student community using the ISC, and they're happy to do so to disseminate requests. So please continue if there is a need that you have for students, use us and we can help recruit. We collaborate on a lot of different projects. Like I said, there's a lot of crossover. So there is a lot of crossover with the Unity Clinic, the Great Debate. They participate in the Reproductive Health Symposium. Bridges to Access is another program that the ISC is heavily involved in. And then other grand rounds where there's like cross participation. If you'll go to the next slide, please. So our questions to the group, the poster hall was something that was new that we tried. I don't know how many of you all participate in it. Like I said, we got a lot of positive feedback from the students. I got a lot of positive feedback from the judges, from people who participated. So if the larger committee or those of you who have additional questions, we would really like to hear about that. And also one of the things that's always needed is input on grand rounds topics. And as any of you have known who have coordinated that type of thing, know that getting pertinent topics to our community is, one of the ways that we keep these programs sustainable. So does anyone, I'll let the social work pause, as Margaret has now termed it. I can stare at you all for quite some time, but I don't want to delay our program today. So does anyone have any questions or feedback on any of the topics that we discussed today for the Student Faculty Committee? No? Margaret?
You should be able to hear me on the Zoom also if I use the microphone on here. But no, okay. So the mock poster presentation was amazing.
Awesome.
I loved it. I did. Yeah, it would be nice if there were more like faculty and other, if it was promoted next year, so more people would come. And then my other thought was, were those posters also put online for people to see as well? Okay, I thought I didn't see because I wanted it because the quality was way higher than I was expecting for a mock.
Oh, awesome. Yeah.
And so I didn't know if it still needed to be a mock or if it could actually, because they did so well with it. I mean, it was really fun. I was really surprised at the level of the research.
Oh yeah, no, that I was so excited. It is something that people have asked for before, but there were certain barriers, like when it comes to being an official poster hall, that in the past when we had proposed it, there was a lot of resistance. And then that's when the students came up with the idea to make it a mock poster hall. So we'll have to review, and then with our new leadership and see like what those barriers are. And if now that we have demonstrated success with our mock poster hall, if we can then make it an official, poster presentation, or if, I think the goal is that we would love to make it official, but with the new committee coming in, the transition, we'll have to see where it stands. But I agree, like that was from my undergraduate experience, going to a poster hall and being able to present was something that was like fundamental for me, before I got out into, my job, like it's like the science fair, right? Like it's the whole purpose, like we get to practice. So I loved it. But yes, this year, hopefully with Unity Week, we're going to have a little bit longer lead time. We know that it's a deliverable going in, so we're going to have a little bit longer to be able to make things happen and market it and get the word out to the different colleges.
I was wondering if in the electronic version, if it captured the students speaking about the poster or if it was just the poster electronic.
Yeah, I don't know. That's what I thought. Yeah, it was just the post. But yes, if they could record something that then also presents their poster, I think that would be great. Anything like where we have it registered, hey, I presented my poster, is always something that helps our students build their resume. And, our students are very practical, right? And that's what, those are the types of opportunities that we've gotten feedback in the past that they're looking for. So. And then Margaret, did you have a question? Oh, it was same. Yeah. Awesome. Yes, and then, I mentioned the input on the grand rounds topics. Please think of us. That's something that we always need. So if you have any suggestions, yes, ma'am. Ms. Betty.
How many do you usually do?
Well, one a month.
Okay,
So, and I think we won't start until September.
so 6 ideas.
Oh, okay, yes. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you give us 12, that'll be fine. And then they'll sort it out. But yeah, it's,
If you suggest an idea, does that automatically mean that you are presenting it?
no.
Okay.
I know that's always a
Just to
worry.
clarify.
No, our hope is that our students, then organize and take it, and and that's their goal. Is I don't think they want us to do things for them. They organize sometimes, as the faculty liaisons, Beth and I will then assist, or like I did with the chronic pain. I was like, hey guys, that's what I do as a therapist, so I can get you in contact. And so then I just facilitated the meeting, and then they did everything else. So. All right. Well, if we don't, please feel free to email me. You can still get a hold of me at my HSC address, which should come up in the global, but then also my OU address is the main one that I use. You can get a hold of me at leckir@ou.edu if you want to email me any suggestions or questions. So thank you all.
Thank you so much, Raina. And I just wanted to say thank you again for the poster session. I also was I was so excited and pleasantly surprised by how well our students did. So I see Robin making her way up to the podium. We are going to hear from the curriculum committee, and it looks like our chair, Robin White, is going to share their updates.
All right, thank you. So I just recently volunteered to step into this position and feel a little overwhelmed. So I hope I can do justice to this today. So let's go ahead, next slide. So the curriculum committee, we are the groups, there are many subgroups that develop and support the curriculum that is offered to students. So many things going on, amazing products that are produced. And then of course, recently, I think it was Sarah or Margaret, maybe Rama, I can't remember who sent it to me, but there was a really nice document released with all of the opportunities for students on campus. And it was very detailed by date, et cetera, whether it was a simulation, whether it was a clinical opportunity, et cetera. So a whole menu of IPE deliverables that are out there and available for the learners on campus. Go ahead, next slide. Thank you. So again, the curriculum is out there and available online. We do have several simulations as well as the Unity Clinic, and we'll talk more detail. There are slides about each of these. And then as was discussed earlier, the 5-year business plan that is something kind of new that has come up, but just trying to get everything coordinated. Our simulations, one of the things I would recommend as faculty, if you haven't participated in these, get in there and go and participate. They're very interesting, and it's nice to know so that you can promote them to your students. I have participated. I was part of the pilot on the weight bias, and it was really interesting. I've been part of the trauma. I think I was a part of the pilot of that as well. I was so excited. I got to intubate, and, step outside my comfort zone. And so it's a lot of fun, but did those just to have that experience. And I think one of the things you can share with students about the simulations is that, one, they're short-term. It's a short commitment. And two, the majority of them, I haven't got to go out to all of them, but my experience has been, it gives you the opportunity to see a different perspective. And I think that that's one of the biggest things in healthcare is understanding where others come from and what they might be experiencing, especially if you've never experienced it yourself. Makes us better professionals and better people in general. So highly recommend participating in those just so you're familiar with what's available. And of course, would love to see more simulations developed over time that students would have access to. Go ahead, next slide. The Unity Clinic has changed a lot over time, not only in the way it has evolved, but also locations and names. But obviously this is the on the ground opportunity for students to get in there. And there was a slide earlier on that was really pretty that says learning together, practicing together. I think I may have turned some of that around, but this is where they learn together and actually practice with real patients and get that opportunity. And again, I haven't had a lot of experience personally with being in the clinic setting, but I have done many facilitations during All Professions Day. And that's kind of the first step for all of these students. And what I share with them is that you guys are the future. And the only way that we'll see change is if you guys get out there and make the change. So this is their opportunity to get out there and see what it could be like and hopefully instill that into the future of healthcare. Go ahead and next slide. In addition, for many of our programs, it's also accreditation requirements. So that's kind of a big deal. So for our underserved population that a lot of the students get to work with, they are at Crossings Clinic Midtown. Again, this is a change of location, a change of names, but we have groups that meet multiple times a week, or there are multiple opportunities during the week for student groups to be a part of this. And again, practice real care with real patients. And these patients are our patients that we encounter in a real clinic. They have multiple issues and challenges, and even more so because they don't have a lot of resources. So again, gives the students an opportunity to practice what we hope they'll incorporate into their future practices as well. Next slide. Something very exciting as part of the clinical aspect is that there has been a caregiver, I believe, is it Dr. Toe? I haven't ever, Tao, okay, who has incorporated a specifically women's health opportunities, which is a big deal. And it's exciting to see that one as a part of it, but hopefully we'll see that grow and continue. Food pharmacy. I don't know, I may be wrong, Margaret, when we met that day and in your room, you had all those supplies. Is that part of this? I wanted to go shopping at the food pharmacy. I'm like Katie, I love to cook and I love to play in the kitchen. And I walked into a meeting with Margaret and Rama and they had all these supplies on the shelves. And just thinking about it, sitting here during this meeting, because I didn't really know what it was for, but you can imagine that people who don't even have a good knife or a good cutting board or a strainer to rinse vegetables and fruit, obviously they're not going to go after that kind of food. But if you supply them and give them the resources, then maybe they'll make healthier choices. And so that is just a really neat thing that involves social work and nutrition and public health, trying to have better health through better nutrition. So again, I'd still love to go shopping in there. And I'm not under-resourced, so I can imagine if I were, how exciting that would be. And then we have a new clinic opportunity here in the College of Allied Health. Dr. Barbie has kind of started the pilot of that. I think it's starting this fall, correct? Okay. So here at the Keys Clinic, they're going to be working with patients, particularly with aphasia starting out, and then in hopes that this will grow and have other opportunities for patients in in the Keys Clinic. So that's exciting to see come to fruition. And I know Dr. Barbie's very excited about it. And then our mobile outreach vehicle, every time I see MOV, I think it's always moving. So add an E or an ING, it's always on the go, because I've been amazed in talking with Margaret and Sarah and Rama about how much this vehicle is out in the community doing different outreach projects, which is exciting. And just, I've got to be part of planning on, what supplies are on that vehicle, even though I've never stepped foot on it. So I'm excited to do that at some point, but it truly is an opportunity for students to go out in the field and have outreach with community, and hopefully again reach patients and potential future students to the health professions, getting them engaged and seeing what we have here on campus, and being a part of interprofessional healthcare. Next slide. So these are our community partners. The very top one there is the First Americans Museum, which I think one of the next slides is an activity that took place there, but these are our partners who have either reached out to us or we've reached out to them, and we've coordinated these outreach events with that MOV, and had some really neat opportunities come up. Next slide. And if you're a visual person, it's nice to see where in the state has the MOV been. So you can see it moves around a lot. Next slide. So as I said, the First Americans Museum, it recently opened, and in January they had an outreach event. They played stickball and had different professions there who got to serve 30 patients. So kind of a win-win, fun as well as patients. So next slide. I'm not as familiar with this one. I mean, if anybody has questions, I'm going to have to defer to Margaret. The Bridges to Access Volunteer Day. Again, I am not familiar, but I was impressed when I looked at the slide the other day at how many professions were involved with this. And there were a number of patients that were served at this event. Next slide. Black History Month Health Fair. So again, I'm not sure, but that building looks like it's somewhere here very close to the campus. So it's our community that our campus is near. And so it's dear to the campus in that, we have an opportunity to go out and reach, again, people who maybe don't seek out healthcare for various reasons, and hopefully got to have a great experience. So again, multiple professions getting to take part in this. And next slide. So something very exciting, particularly when you consider the students, because graduation is always a big deal for them, and it's always fun to watch their celebrations, but they also love to have the stuff on their regalia. And so when they've put in the time, whatever hours have been designated by their college or program, they do get a notation on their transcript, and they do get special cords representing their IPE work. And as I tell my students, and Raina mentioned it earlier, anything that can go on their transcript or their resume is a boon to them. So 600 students this last year got these special recognitions. So that's really cool. And our plans, this is pretty small. I have to put my glasses back on. Obviously, I mentioned we have subcommittees that will continue with their work. And so that's part of what we do is one, taking feedback from the students from the different opportunities, as well as faculty suggestions and tweaking things, adding things, maybe changing things. One of the big things that I hope to do is incorporate more synthesis opportunities for students. And then clinic, that is an ongoing process of development. And so, as was mentioned earlier, there is strategic expansion taking place. And then we also have the integration, trying to get things incorporated. When we don't have a lot of room for electives, how do we get that incorporated so that it's doable for students? And then the 5-year plan that was mentioned and voted on earlier. Next slide. Okay, so hopefully I didn't totally blow it. Any questions or suggestions? And there are crickets. Or this time of year, it's cicadas. All right, well, thank you very much.
Thank you, Robin. I think you had the most slides of any of the committees and not necessarily to say the most work, but the most depth and breadth of what I just heard. So thank you for sharing that with us. Up next, we have our Faculty Development Committee. Ruby, are you headed up or is Lisa? Oh, see, they get a whole team. Man, you guys are lucky. Okay, so we are excited to hear about faculty development.
Thank you, Katie. Good morning, everyone. And I'm glad to see you all in person, whether in person or in Zoom. And in the past year, I've had the pleasure to lead the IEPA Faculty Development Committee alongside the amazing Dr. Lisa Melhan and an amazing committee members as well. So next slide, please. So our committee, I'm going to give an overview of what our committee is and what we do. Our committee is charged to ensure that all of our faculty and around campus are educated and trained in all of the 4 domains of the IPIC competencies. And how we do this is through developing formal faculty development programs. Next slide, please. Okay, so I think you skipped this slide here, but we're going to talk about 2022-2023 successes. I consider a success of having members from across our campus, members of our committee. They've been very supportive, great ideas, great involvement and participation. But our 4, maybe we're missing 1, but Lisa will be talking about that soon. Successes for this year would be our seat grants. Of course, all of you know that the seat grants are a way, or the purpose of the seed grant is, of course, to have or develop new and innovative ideas and projects, curricular projects that are related to IPE. Of course, our awards, the Interprofessional Facilitator or Educators Certificate Program that Dr. Barbie will be talking about as well today. And of course, our Nexus presentations and participations of our committee members and of course, committee from the various other committees as well. And I believe the 5th one would be faculty recruitment. That we missed adding here. Next slide, please. Our goals and deliverables for our IEPA faculty development are always faculty engagement, right? We want to engage all of our faculty across our campus in every way possible to deliver IEPE curricular activities, and they are many. And the IEPA curricular activities are something that is growing always. So we need more faculty to be engaged in those too. Next slide, please. So here I want to take a moment to congratulate our seed grant recipients from, of course, the Wisdom Family Foundation. I will go through these just in a bit. We have the first recipient, that is Beth Lane. Congratulations to her, please applause there. The title of the grant is Interprofessional Community-Based Pediatric Screening Program. And the goals for this project include students learning how to collaborate efficiently through the screening and referral process for pediatric community members who are at risk for developing developmental delay. And there's much more. It's a long list. We congratulate Beth Lane. Thank you. The second recipient, the title for the grant is Interdisciplinary Mentored Research Experience, and the recipient or the PI is Dr. Mary Goen. Congratulations to her as well. The goal of this project is to develop and pilot an interdisciplinary mentored research experience that can be delivered any semester for any learner at OUHSC. Our third recipient is Dr. Vincent Dennis. We congratulate him for the title of the grant, Automation of the Healthcare Professional Circle Diagramming Technique for Use in Interprofessional Clinical Learning Experiences. The goals for this project are to create a functional web-based version of the manual healthcare professional circle diagramming HPCD technique, which is previously utilized by students to depict interprofessional care delivery. Our fourth recipient is Dr. Jerry IEPA for the title of the grant Interprofessional Identity Formation Program, which is IPIF. And the goals of this project include fostering greater awareness of students in evolving professional identity formation, PIF, with their respective profession, and evolving interprofessional identity formation, IPIF, within interprofessional teams. We'd like to congratulate all of the SEEK grant recipients again. Thank you so much. And next, I would like to welcome Dr. Melhan. Thank you.
Okay, so hello, I'm Dr. Melhan for anyone who doesn't know me. Just kind of if you could do a digital hand raise and then a hand raise in the room on who was had their presentations accepted. Okay, so lots of hands in the room. How about on digital? Any hand raises? Well, we had several, which is very exciting. So, when we think of faculty development, that's one thing that we have to do. I mean, my understanding is all three pillars that we're all kind of responsible for that. And one of those is scholarship. And for a lot of us, when teaching is our primary role, that can be challenged to get. And so we're providing that opportunity, and I hope we continue to expand on that. To do that, we also have to have more people that are involved in IPE from a faculty level, and faculty recruitment is one of the charges for our committee. And so for future development, that's one thing that we do want to do. And so to try to get more stuff in Nexus, more scholarly work, and then just get more hands, because the more hands, the lighter the load. And so that's one of our goals for next year, and is to continue the stuff that we are doing, which Dr. Barbie is going to come up and talk about the amazing initial pilot of our certificate program, but then also to recruit more members to help in all of the levels. And we have lots of great ideas out there. One is to provide like brief 2-minute video education on what the role is, so it's not as scary. A picture's worth 1,000 words. If we could get some really small videos out there that they could show either at onboarding or faculty, monthly meetings, something like that, to show them that it's not that large of a commitment and you get a lot out of it, I think it would be really beneficial. So that's kind of where I'm hoping to go next year with this. So from there, go ahead and change slides for me, and I'm going to let Dr. Barbie come up. So that's all I have today.
Hi, I'm Christy Barbie, if you don't know me. I am getting the credit up here, but I did not do this by myself. The Faculty Development Committee played a huge role for years in this development, as well as the Executive Committee. And then Jerry Ibe and Margaret Robinson are also doing at least as much work as I am on this. So I'm very honored to work with them and to have done this. And I'm very honored that we have finished our pilot year for the first basic certificate. And some of our graduates are in here, Professor Lane, Dr. Milhan, and I'm thrilled with that, and Kat Tabbitt. We are preparing to pilot the master certificate, and we've had several people that completed the first year say that they are going to do that. And through that process, we hope to guide them along to a point where at the end they will have a product of scholarly work. And we're very excited about that. And we're excited about offering the first year programming as something other than a pilot. So, thank you.
Next slide, please. Can you please get next slide? Thank you. And also through faculty development and support, we always want to support you. So faculty activity system is there to support you. If you haven't heard of this, or I have not been sending out tons of email to your email account. If I have, I'm apologizing. If I haven't, I will be soon. So this system, for those of you who don't know, FAST, we go by FAST, is where you can record, you can track all of your faculty activities and achievements, whether it be teaching, research, your awards, anything that you'd like to put up if you're up for promotion and tenure, or you'd like to run a CV. This system allows you to run a CV report in addition to other reports that we have in the system that will make accessible to you all, including faculty annual evaluations coming soon as well. Please, if you haven't already, take a look at our website. We constantly review, edit, put up videos, put up resources for you, and training dates as well. I do training in person or by department or by college. We have a couple of this month. We're going to restart again in September for refreshers for the faculty that have been trained and for new faculty that have been joining our colleges. Please email me if I haven't already emailed you about this, but please go in there and update your CV data, your information. It will always be available for you and for your department as well in any report form that you wish. For that, I'd like to welcome back Lisa again to discuss further stuff about our IP Faculty Development Committee.
Sorry, I just thought I was finished. No, okay, so outreach and orientations, that's we're doing community outreach, we're doing student outreach, but we're also doing faculty outreach to get people to know what we do and that, you know, this isn't some self-sustaining, all-encompassed department. We need all hands on deck to do that. Go ahead and switch to the next slide for me. And so these are just a couple of plans that we have, because these are some of the things that are already integrated that we're going to continue to move forward. One is the certificate program, the wellness series that Dr. Ibe is involved in. And then also, you know, the recognition and team and leadership awards, we're going to be continuing to move those forward. And then the FAST system needs, again, C grants, and needs on this, we always need people to help us to review those and make sure we're giving grants to worthy individuals and make sure that they're reviewed properly. And then, like I said, some of the things that haven't gotten on here yet because they're still in development is the faculty recruitment. And the goal for this year is to, since we piloted a presentation to the rehab sciences department, anecdotally, we had a couple of folks that said, oh yeah, as soon as I get this done, that's somewhere I want to actually start spending my time. And so while we don't have an outcome yet of a new member of our team, we are starting to get some results. And honestly, we need that forward thinking. So, you know, they're looking 24, 25. That's great because somebody in here might be saying, you know what, I may need a break in 24, 25. So hopefully we can get this moving forward and roll it out to multiple colleges in the department within the year. So go ahead and go to slide 80, hit slide 88, then go to 89 for me. Yeah, so yeah, we're on questions for the group. Does anybody have any questions or feedback for the certificate program? I went through it. I loved it. I loved the materials that were in it. I loved the group sessions. I love that it was not only a certificate for interdisciplinary education, you also got a completion certificate for mentorship as well. So it killed two birds with one stone, which I didn't realize was going to happen. And for a newer faculty member, that was really nice. So, so when you're talking to some of those newer faculty in your department, you might let them know that. And then as far as recruitment, like I said, that's still in development. And oh yeah, Keith was in that too. I'm glad it had such a positive response. Are there any questions from the group about faculty development? Any ideas that you want us to try to put forward? Oh, that's all right. Yes, Christy is feeling very sad right now because she did not recognize everybody in the digital room because we can't see you. So everyone who went through the program and completed it, we are so thankful that you did it, and you get a big applause. And we're glad that you're here today as well. So if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and bow out. I look forward to a great year. Thank you.
Thanks, Lisa. I do want to challenge one thing you said about people stepping away in 24 and 25. We don't step away. We just move to a different committee or a different role, right? Okay, so I couldn't leave without saying that. So if you're looking for a new place to get involved, I'm sure that Keith would be happy to have you on the research committee. So we're about to hear from our fourth and final research committee, committee. I'm excited about this, especially in light of what Dr. Williams was talking about with scholarship. And I think this is an area that we really excel in here in IEPA. So Keith, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much, Katie. And I'm sorry I couldn't be there in person. I thought I would be able to. Today's Friday Fun is federal funding reporting and alliteration. So it's a good time over in geriatrics. Just kidding. First of all, thank you for having me today. I'm really looking forward to serving in this role. And I want to thank Brant for serving for the last year as the past chair of this committee, and also Drs. Kraft and Dennis, who did it for, I believe, several years. So really good base to build off of. Our charge is pretty straightforward, I think, is to disseminate research on what we're doing within interprofessional education and really try to get that published, boost our scholarly activity, and really evaluate what works and potentially what doesn't, although I think a lot of it does work. Next slide, please. And so we need to probably boost what we're doing in terms of approved research studies on what we're doing in terms of evaluation. We'll talk about JTOG in a minute. I know that's become very popular on campus. So that's good. There is momentum there. And the more we can do to evaluate what we're doing, the more we can demonstrate that it's effective. As Dr. Williams said, that's really important moving forward in terms of showing leadership what we're doing over here at IEPA. I advocate for it all the time. Everyone I know who's joined in has always found it really useful. Although Dr. Milhan and others had mentioned that time sometimes can be a factor for other faculty, but as junior faculty, it's really hard to say no. So next slide, please. We want to work on our updated research guidance plan. So what we want to look at is what we can do moving forward. We want to continue to use JTOG, and we are kind of charged with, I want to say vetting. That's probably not the right word, but making sure that when people are using JTOG, they're using it appropriately, that they understand that there's a license involved, there's data sharing involved. And so it's not as simple as just say, hey, use the survey and move forward. But that's good for all of us in the long run in terms of having a unified measurement tool that we can use across interprofessional educational activities. So I think that was really, really a good thing that Dr. Harna did before she took on a different position. So we want to continue to collaborate with Unity Clinic student leaders. So we want students to have input on what we're looking at. And so we understand where we can head with what we're doing and better. Maybe there's things we can develop that we haven't developed yet. Next slide, please. So the data should drive a couple of different things here, right? It should drive our evaluation, you know, the process, the impact, the outcomes, right? So we have process data that's pretty straightforward. We want to get more impact and outcome data. That's sort of the importance here with the research committee and evaluating what we're doing with things like the Unity Clinic and these simulations and such. And also feeding forward QI, like quality improvement in terms of what we're doing with students and how we can make that better. But we also need to be doing some research on this in a very scholarly way. And so what interventions are we using, right? How do they work well? What works well? What do we do internally that works well? I know a lot of times we've talked about evaluating student teamwork in these interprofessional settings, but I think the flip side of that is evaluating facilitation and facilitation consistency and other things of that nature. And then also our work with extramural partners, right? So there's probably some opportunities there, especially with like the mobile clinic, to evaluate what we're doing with that and how we go out in the community and how that's received. I think there's a lot of things that we could potentially be doing. Next slide, please. We meet monthly. If you're interested in joining us, please let me know. We could always use new thoughts and ideas. One thing for me is to try to engage membership and give people more tasks. I think it's sometimes research is a slow slog. So even though we meet monthly, it's not always easy to just say, oh, this month you get to do this. So we may need to give people something that they can latch onto for a period of time. But we do want to align with the university research strategic plan, right? And that has to do with us being an R1 university. It's very important for us to produce R1 quality work and for us to demonstrate that what we're doing as an R1 university, especially in terms of interprofessional education, is, as Dr. Williams said, becoming the university that in general, and then also in terms of students having an opportunity to interact with each other. We have the luxury and the benefit of a full-fledged medical campus with 7 colleges, but we also have the Norman campus. So potentially engaging more there with some of our colleagues down south who are interested in some of the things that go on up here. We're just trying to bridge the gaps better. And we do need to do some meta-analysis of some of the things that we're up to in terms of, instead of just thinking that our traditional student activities are just what we do all the time. You know, I always think of All Professions Day, and I know Margaret may not want to logistically deal with it, but I loved how much more it was so much different in person than it's been via Zoom, right? And I know there's some logistical realities surrounding all this that are still at play, but some things to think about. Next slide, please. So we do have Dr. Dennis and Lynn doing the College of Medicine, College of Pharmacy collaboration. We do have some diabetes education work that people are looking at with uninsured patients, a QI project. Breaking Bad News is a simulation that you can be involved in if you're interested in, something very important for all of our health profession students, not just medical students. We have Dr. Whisker's been working with a graduate student on interprofessional identity formation project. So this graduate student is looking at as large a data sample as possible. Do students form an interprofessional identity after they go through some of the interventions that we offer them? And so moving forward, really interesting. We have Dr. Milhan and Dr. Lecky and Dr. Ozam, and I'm not sure what IO stands for, so please don't kill me. If you want to jump in and say what this stands for, please do so now. What does it stand for?
IO, it's the interdisciplinary opportunities intervention tool. So.
Perfect. Thank you so much. And then, like I mentioned before, the JTOG and IPASS. We've used IPASS for a long time. We've used IPASS here in geriatrics for some things we've done with med students in like aging simulations. But JTOG's become very popular on campus. And so, you know, making sure when people are using that, they're giving data back, and we're understanding what students are getting out of it. And there may be some other projects that come up. I know that I went to a session at one of our larger meetings. I believe it was the Gerontological Society of America, where I think it was in Florida, had done follow-up longitudinally with learners who are now 5, 6, 7 years into their clinical practice. There's ways to do this and to follow up with them in terms of interprofessional identity, the use of interprofessional education. Logistically, it's a lot of work, and that may be something for the future, but something worth thinking about. Next slide, please. Margaret, I thought this would be plugged earlier, but this is really cool. If you haven't dug this up yet, I would highly recommend doing so. I don't know how useful this URL will be for some of you sitting there, but this is on the IPEA site. It is a really cool toolkit. There's a lot of interesting things in here in terms of collaboration, interprofessional implementation, logic model, sustainability. I think all of us in this group have seen this, but this might be something really interesting to share with colleagues. This could be used as a recruitment tool. I'm guessing that's why this was developed, but it's very, very, very useful. So please take a look at it when you get a chance. And then next slide, please. So our plans for the next year. So we need to look at some of the evaluation results that we have. We actually have a lot of data. It's hard. I think time is something that comes up for a lot of people, but we need to be able to look through it, right? We want to make sure that we debrief correctly. So when I mentioned earlier about looking at facilitation consistency, I think part of that is involved with debriefing. We've done some secondary analysis, gone back to old data and re-looked at it, which has been really, really useful. You know, we want to make sure students have a good attitude about interprofessional education. So IPAS is all about that, but also through debriefing and qualitative interviewing. And that's brief. That doesn't mean sitting down for, you know, a large portion of time, but getting their vignettes and their statements about what they experience. And they largely really, really highly rate all of these things. So students enjoy this. This is not something that I think a lot of them find burdensome or anything like that. I think they really, really, really find it useful. Looking at outcomes from some of the past research we've done. So we have some evaluation we've done that we could potentially publish. I think this year, I think is the year we're going to try and publish a few things. These are some reanalysis of life circle diagrams. I know myself and a couple of other team members went back and looked at some Unity Clinic data from several years ago. We have like a 4-year chunk, and we were able to categorize code thematically and analyze that. So there's a publication waiting right there. So more production from our committee in terms of scholarly work, you know, helping to feed research policy, plan resorts. And then we want to think more about collaborations. I mean, this committee, I think I would love to have more people, you know, more people involved. I think we have a good representation from a lot of different colleges. That's something we have. I think all of us as committees do really well with. And so if we can continue to bolster that. But if you know of anybody where they feel like this is their home, please send them our way. We'd love to have them. Next slide, please. So feedback, questions, anything you want to offer me, I'm here for a couple of minutes, or really I'm here till the end of the meeting, but thank you for having me, Margaret. Again, I apologize I couldn't be there in person, but I'm really glad that I was able to talk to you all today.
Thanks so much, Keith. If you couldn't hear it, you were getting a round of applause. And I forgot to mention, so Keith, you missed out on the snacks. If you had come over here, you could have gotten some, you know, handpicked registered dietitian snacks from my pantry. But you guys who are in here, please grab something to eat. Okay, well, so if we can go to the next slide. This is really our opportunity to shift from hearing all of these updates to getting into some of our committee meetings. But as our chairs were talking and our leaders were talking, I thought that this is really an opportunity for us to be very energized or intimidated by the work that we have ahead of us. This is a lot of work, right? But I hope you are like me, where instead of being intimidated, I'm very much energized because we are going to be doing this together. In April, I participated as a participant in a research study, which was really fun to be on the other side of things. And it was a qualitative study looking at an individual's participation in IPE. I had to think back as a student. So, you know, a few decades ago as a student, then as a practitioner, and now as an educator. And when I was doing the part where they were interviewing me about my experience as an educator, I literally said to myself, this makes me feel like an IPE royalty because of all of the resources and all of the opportunities that we have here on this campus to work with people, with our leadership and whatnot. So I'll let you know when that, hopefully they will publish that study, and I'll let you know when it comes out so you can see what those results were. But I think if we'll go to the next slide, if we have notes from this meeting, we will have annual report copies, and everything from this meeting is going to be on SharePoint. They do a fantastic job of keeping us updated. Margaret, I think you are up next to give us our final charge and send us off into our committee meeting. So thank you, Margaret.
Okay, well, we are finishing early. Would anyone like to stay an extra hour? I'm available. So we will move on to next stages. We do allow time if there were thoughts or comments or anything that if you would like to meet with your committee, that we will still have the room available and we'll stick around. Sarah will be online as well. But as we disperse, we want to take some time to reflect and do the evaluation. The QR code is up on the screen. Oh yeah, I can make it bigger for here in person. And so we want to know if this time to meet, again, that Latin word, really long meeting. So is the retreat here meaningful? Did you get information that was necessary today to help you in your work, in your...
You are a code reader.
Nice.
Sorry.
I love it. Ellen's watching Disney movies or something in the back. Was it impactful? What, give us good feedback so that as we look at future meetings, we can make adjustments there and make good use of your time in coming today. Next slide. And we will leave with that final charge. So hopefully to be energized and not intimidated, but to continue to be goal oriented. That's the whole touch point, is to say, here's a reminder of what we're doing and why. To be deliverable focused, that at the end of the day, we do have results expected of us, especially as we do transition our funding sources over the next year. And we have different stakeholders and constituents to report back to, making sure that everything we do is sustainable. The one-offs are no longer an option for us. Everything we do has to be sustainable and replicable, and that we're being inclusive, that we are purposefully thinking who is not at the table. Who else do we need to invite? Not everyone needs to do everything, but how can we purposefully be inclusive? Who else can we invite and how can we do that? Not that we do something to them, but that we do something with them and make sure that they're at the table to do that. And if there's barriers, how can our office assist with that? I don't have a magic wand. I can't do everything, but we are here to at least try to address that as a challenge. So we generally allow 10 minutes because we're usually closer to 12 o'clock, but feel free as you want to meet with your subgroups to do so. Next slide. And the evaluation, we wanted to end with the best picture ever. This is my favorite picture, Jerry, by the way. That was taken at Nexus Conference in Minnesota last August. And I made everyone stick around for a group picture before they got to go eat. And so they're so kind to take a fun picture as well. That was a really great group we sent to conference last year. So without any further ado, I will dismiss the meeting today and say thank you very much for your time to join us today. And like I said, we will stick around for anything else, but thank you.